Today I want to show you the Eastwood powder coating system, and I'll show you how the process works and give you some thoughts on should you use this type of system or use a professional powder coater to get the job done. I use Eastwood's complete powder coating system, so I use their hot coat powder, I use their gun and cup system, and I use their small, well, that's actually the largest size oven I believe that they make. So it's the whole kit. It's all designed to work together, and I'll show it to you kind of individually here. So I want to talk about the powders here real quickly. These used to come in nice little cups that were, had a nice top on it, made it easy to get the powder out when you wanted to load the cup for the gun. The bags probably are a lot cheaper than doing a cup, but what it does do is it just makes things a little bit more messy when you're trying to load the gun with the product. So I'll probably leave it in the bags. I could probably put it in a old peanut butter jar or something like that, but I don't know that it would seal up, and certainly moisture is a problem. So anyway, not a big fan of what Eastwood's done here with going a cheaper route, but we'll see if the product works as well as it used to. Now I show you the gun setup here. Pretty self-explanatory, fairly simple. It's a kind of a cheap plastic gun, but quite honestly, I don't think any of these on the market are very, meant to be very durable. It's got a removable top here on it, so you can kind of directionally spray the powder coat as it comes out, to hit the sides or straight forward. Fairly simple, fairly easy. You do need to connect air up to it, fairly low psi, like 5 pounds of psi on fairly low flow rate too. But the box is kind of compact, which is nice. Gives you a little light there to tell you where it's on. You got a plug in. You've got a ground that goes to whatever it is you're powder coating, so you can electrically charge it. And then you've got a trigger, so when you squeeze the trigger here, it grounds the item that you're trying to powder coat. So you squeeze the trigger, then you pull the trigger on the gun, spray the product on, and release it when you're done, and it takes the electric charge out of it. So fairly simple, fairly easy. I've used this gun now for probably 3 years, and it's still in pretty good shape, so it's got to be durable enough, right? Now I'll quickly give you an idea of what fits in this oven. These heat shields that go on exhaust manifolds, they will fit in the oven. This turbo manifold, this will not fit in the oven. The steering rod for the steering on the El Camino will fit in the oven. These plates that I use for the seats, no problem, these will fit in the oven. I want to quickly go back and talk about the exhaust manifold. I wish Eastwood had a ceramic coating that you could use for this type of product, but they don't, and I don't know if there's different process to finish it, but certainly something that's missing out of this. If you need a really high heat application, you're not going to be able to use the Eastwood system for it. We'll talk a little bit about the oven setup. So the idea here with this steering rod is to hang it in there so it can get the most coverage area. Now, the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and kind of mock up how you're going to put it in the oven. Now, for me, I'm going to take out one of these racks and move one rack up to the very top so I can hang this and kind of suspend it underneath there. But certainly every time I do this, I just want to check, make sure it hangs in there right. It's not going to hit up against anything. And then I can kind of make a little way for this to kind of hang off that rack so I can set it in there when it's all sprayed and get it treated. So I think the easiest way to suspend this is to use a coat hanger, and that way I can set the height or how far off the rack that it is, and kind of control a little bit how the how much the surface area is going to be that's kind of going to interrupt the one end. One of these ends I can kind of curl up like this and kind of roll it into this kind of empty pocket down here. The other end's going to be a little bit more tricky. It's just going to have a little bit of spot on there where it's not going to get good powder coating. But the good news is that end I can just hit it with a little bit of spray paint, and it's going to go into a connector anyway, so it's not really going to see much light of day. But anyway, this way I can kind of get it all mocked up and get it hung in there right. So now I have it all mocked up and ready to spray. So Eastwood tells you that when you spray the powder on there, that you want to be 6 to 10 inches away, I think. But because I'm in kind of a confined space and I want to see if I can spray this on thicker and see if it has a more durable finish, I'm going to be a lot closer. So I'm about 3 to 5 inches away from the material and getting really close with the gun and just making sure that I have good coverage everywhere on the product. And it's just really a matter of just making sure that you got, like I say, good coverage on everything. This powder goes on fairly easy. It's easy to clean up, but certainly you have to be a little careful with it. You don't want to get it all over everything, but it blows off pretty easily and doesn't really stick to anything. You can really hit it off with an air gun if you kind of screw it up or bump into it. So that part of it's really easy. So we'll see if laying this stuff on really thick will help give it a more thicker, durable finish. And into the oven we go. Now, Eastwood tells you to preheat the oven to 450 degrees, and then once the material starts what they call flow out, meaning it changes colors, kind of like it's slowly starting to do here from that dull finish to the more shiny gloss finish, that's flow out. When it's all completely flown out, it's all uniform, one color and consistency, then you dial the temperature down to 400 and then let it cure for another 20 minutes or so. So you can kind of see how this is starting to flow out. It's kind of fun to watch. It doesn't take that long once it gets in there, and once the powder coating starts to heat up and melt and chemically adhere itself to the metal that you're working with. So it doesn't take very long. Maybe 10 minutes after you put it back in there, it'll start to do this process, and then, like I said, you got another 20 minutes after that of it, being in there to completely cure itself to the metal, and then it's ready to come out at that point. Periodically during the heating, the flow out, and the curing of the product, it's a good idea to hit it with a gun. Just get a good temperature on it. Right now, I've never worried about it being dead on 450 or 400. As long as it's fairly close, that's good enough. And once your material's completely flowed out, dial it back from 450 to 400, set the timer for 20 minutes, and let her go. And during the curing process, it's a good idea to just hit it with a temp gun, make sure it's right temperature, and then I always, take a quick peek, make sure the material's all, flowed out and it's evenly, looking good on there. There's not much you can do at this point, but it's always nice to kind of see the finished product come together. And once the timer's off for your curing process, just make sure you shut everything off, timer, power, heat, everything. And then I just kind of open it up, leave the oven door open for, 20, 30 minutes, just kind of let it get back to room temperature. And once it's back to room temperature, it's done. You don't need to let it cure for any longer period of time. That's it. I just always take and inspect it. You can tell on this one end where the coat hanger kind of got on there. Like I said, I'm just going to hit that with a little bit of spray paint and it'll be good. Rivets got good coverage. Looks like all the nooks and crannies and kind of the ends got good coverage. So it turned out well. It's good, for a home DIY powder coating system. It's, worked really well. So really the only thing left to do now is just kind of see how durable it is and how thick that powder coating on. So I'm going to take a screwdriver and run it right down the edge of this and see how thick it is and see if we can get down to bare metal. And it made a little bit of groove in here, but I put a fair amount of pressure on there and it did not get down to bare metal. So I'm very happy with that, very happy with the way that turned out. It's thick enough. It's going to get scratched and beat up and banged up, but that doesn't look bad at all. No problem at all. And one last thing here is to do a durability test. I'm going to grab a hammer, hit it, see what happens to it. It kind of left a big dent in it. Took a little bit of material off it. I'm not too happy with the way that turned out, to be honest with you. all in all, that's not bad. It's something you'd expect, from that type of, product or that type of item within a car. You're going to scratch it like we did with the screwdriver. It's very possible you could hit it, impact like that with something. So, all in all, not bad. I'm very happy with that. That material that went on very thick this time. I'd never done that before, so I'm happy with that. Happy, a little happier than the way it is when I've sprayed a little bit thin. So I think I'll be doing that in the future with it. I'll go on thick. So anyway, if you got any comments, please don't hesitate to leave them below. If you thought the video was cool, please like it. Certainly subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I guess we'll catch you all on the next video. Appreciate it.